want to get to know him. I don't want to get to know of him. I don't want any speculation. I don't want to take nobody else's word for it. I want to know him for myself. Is there anybody in here, you just want to know him for yourself? I'm talking about you got to do something to know him for yourself. You got to know him for yourself. You got to know him for yourself. I mean, you got to know him for yourself. I heard my mama talk about some stuff. I heard my mama share some stuff. I heard her, but then I grew up and I had to depend on somebody. And I found him for myself. As a matter of fact, he wasn't lost. He found me. I'm sorry. It was a hot pursuit. He says, I got to operate by faith. But I sound like somebody calling. Did y'all hear that music in there? Turn to somebody and say, turn that phone on. That ain't the Lord call unless you're talking to him. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm finished. I'm done. Look. He says, that's faith walk. We walk by faith and not by sight. Listen, I'm talking to believers now because we need to know this in this word. We walk by faith and not by sight. Faith is, Manabija says, faith is seeing the thing as though it is so, even though it's not so, in order that it might be so. Faith is substance of things, substance of things hoped for, hope, and the evidence of things that ye not seen or cannot see. Hello? Yeah. He said, now faith. And so faith, okay. He says faith is, you know, what you hinge, your hope is what your faith is hinged upon. Okay, hope is stuff that's not here yet. But you got to have faith to know it's on the way. And without faith, Hebrews 11:6 says, it is, say it loud, impossible to please God. I'm trying to go somewhere because I wanted to go another route, but this pursuit is pursuit of passion, or passionate pursuit of what God would have. Paul says, I want to know him. I want to get to know him. I want to know him and the power of his resurrection. I'm talking about to the point of new life. You got to catch it, because that's what this thing is about, isn't it? Isn't it about new life? And if any man be in Christ, he is a old thing. All things have become what? New. So it's a new perspective. It's a new way of living. It's a new life. As a matter of fact, it's not only a new name, but it's a new nature. Say with me, I've got a new nature. What Paul says, and I want to get to know him and the power of his resurrection. I read it last week. Can I read it again from the Amplified Version? Huh? Yes, sir. Okay, come on, y'all. Help me. He says in verse 10, he says from the Amplified Version, for my determined purpose is that I may know him. Hello? That I may, listen to this, progressively become more deeply and intimately acquainted with him. Did y'all understand the language? Let me read it again. He says, my determined purpose is that I may know him. He said the whole motive behind what I do, and the whole motivation is that I would know him. Listen, that I may progressively, say with me, progressively, become more deeply, say with me, deeply, and intimately, say with me, intimately, acquainted with him. Listen, the key is that I want to be so close to Jesus that when folks see me, they'll say, that's deep. They'll say, don't you belong to Jesus? Okay, don't miss that. Don't you belong to him? Look, you don't have to say anything. I see Jesus all over you. You don't have to say anything. I see Jesus all in you. You don't have to say anything, but you walk like Jesus. You got to characteristics of Jesus. You don't have to carry a big Bible under your arm. So many people got these big old Bibles anyhow. They're too big. They're messing up your back. You don't read it, you just carry it. But David said, I'm sorry, thy word have I hid in mine heart that I might not sin against. He didn't say thy word I carry in my hand. He said thy word have I hid in mine heart that I might not sin against thee. We've got to passionately get close to Jesus so we can be intimately involved in him. We need to be wrapped up, tied up, and tangled up in him, that the character of Christ will show up in our everyday walk. Somebody said it's time out for playing church. Ain't never been time in. Now I'm done. I was going further, but I ain't gonna kill myself. Say with me, a pursuit of passion. He had passion. He loved the Lord. He said, I want to get to know him. I want to get to know him. I want to get close to him. I want to get real close to him. I want to get so close to him that you can't tell him from me. Oh, I want to get so close to him. He said, I want to get to know him and the power of his resurrection. That's the new life. And the fellowship of his suffering, and be made conformable unto his death. He said, when I got to know him, he died, I died. God, I wish I had time to tell you about that. He said, I want to get to know him, not to speculate about him, but to know him, not to know of him, but to know him, not to know about him, but to know him. Paul says, I desire a deeper and a fuller and a richer experience in the knowledge of Christ. He said, everything else fades into worthlessness before this knowledge, which makes Jesus Christ one's Lord. Listen, he said, I want him to be my Lord. I want him to be my master. I want him to tell me what to do. I want to submit myself to him. I want to surrender myself to him. Is it anybody here? You want to surrender to him. You want him to be your Lord and master. You want him to control your life. Listen, you ought to want him to control everything about you. I'm just about finished now because, listen, I was going to Chicago and Reverend Austin was driving and he put something in my dash, in my window. Yeah, I'm finished for real. And he said, can I hook this up? And I said, what is it? He said, well, man, it's a GPS. I said, okay. He said, it's a navigation system. He said, and if we're going to go and get there on time, he said, just let me put it in the window. And I watched him. He put it in. He put the little thing and it sucked up into the window. Then he put it up on there. He pushed a couple of buttons. He pushed in the address where we were going from where we were. And then he started driving and somebody said, go 1/4 of a hundredth of a mile and turn right. And I said, what's that, man? He said, Doc, that's the GPS. And he said, man, you know, I got a portable one. And all you need to do is plug it into the cigarette lighter. And so he said, now it's going to say this. And so step by step by step by step. I mean, all the way to Matteson, Illinois. But here it is. When we got there, sister, listen, when we got there, I'm finished for real. But when we got there, we turned down one street and it said detour. Because you see, Chicago, that area had flooded because of the rain, 5 inches of rain at one time. And we got there and they had detour. And he turned, and when he turned, I heard the voice say, recalculating. And when it turned, Brother Fuller, it said recalculating. And when we turned down this street, on the screen, it showed the street that we were on. And I said, wait a minute, Doc, where did you get this from? And he said, look, man, he said, this is global positioning satellite. It's somewhere up there. And what happened is, it's looking down and it's telling us everywhere we're going. And then when we turned, it said recalculating. And I said, well, man, I said, we can't get through there because that street's blocked too. And when he turned again about 4 times, each time it said recalculating. And then on the screen, yeah,